Hello, everyone. Thank you for joining me. And today we'll be talking about cybersecurity for nonprofits using Salesforce, and more specifically, the February deadline for implementation on Salesforce MFA. All right. I'll kind of walk through an agenda here, just kind of a basic agenda to kind of go through the slides, and we can kind of elaborate once we get further in. But right here we have multi-factor authentication, also known as MFA. What it is and why Salesforce, is seeing it necessary to implement across all of our instances. We go through the implementation and planning for Salesforce MFA and Salesforce Authenticator app, and we do a step-by-step walkthrough. We have visuals, to help everyone with learning and kind of what to expect when along the way. And then also we have some issues that we're realistically going to anticipate and kind of what we've seen over time, and how to solve them and make sure that your organization is successful in doing that. And kind of what happens if you don't make the February 1st deadline, which realistically may happen for some people, and we just kind of what to expect when you don't, or if you can get it done by then. And some other really cool uses for Salesforce Authenticator. It's not just a Salesforce app, but you could use it for a lot of other. Tested that today, and I had a lot of fun with it. So, and lastly, some lessons learned. So going through this, seeing what's really cool, and kind of some tips and hot tips that you can kind of go through and see what helps.
And Charlie, you're okay with taking questions as we go through this?
Yeah, of course.
Cool.
Okay. All right. So, what is multi-factor authentication, also known as MFA? It is a way to sign on to an application that requires more than one verification factor. So, for example, you're signing on to Facebook, and you got to put your username and password, and you got to receive a code to your email or to your phone. And that's example one. Example two is the use of an authenticator, and the main purpose for that is to simplify and improve security. And then we'll be talking today about the Salesforce Authenticator app as an example. Right. Okay, so now we go into why. So why MFA for Salesforce? Number one is definitely security. In 2021, it was definitely a weird year for all of us, for everyone involved. But there was, some big data breaches, and the federal government is, prioritizing it. And to list some data breaches, for example, there was Facebook, Instagram, LinkedIn, Kroger, some really big companies, and sometimes data that gets leaked can be as small as first name, last name, email, but in some instances there's social security numbers, driving license numbers, and really, really important stuff that we need, in our everyday lives. And then that kind of goes right into number two, the sensitive information. We have an obligation, obviously, with having sensitive information within our instance to, protect that to the best of our ability. And number three, so our warehouse, we have the warehouse of all of our data, and we need to make sure that, we don't lose that in any way, any phishing attacks or any targeted attacks. We want to make sure that we know exactly where it is, and it's nice and secure within our instance. And then I have a chart right here. This kind of goes over some of the hacking types, automated bots, bulk phishing attacks, targeted attacks, and you could see the percentages using a phone number, for example, which is pretty normal with Facebook and some other apps. On the bottom left here is a security key. And that's kind of what we're talking about today. And that's what Salesforce is, trying to implement with the Salesforce Authenticator app, and or you have a physical security key that you plug into your computer that I'll talk more about as well. All right. So now we get into actually planning, and before you even want to implement, before you want to do anything like that, you just got to learn about what MFA is and kind of why you're doing it, and just think about who's going to be going through the process of planning for MFA for your organization. And then depending of the size of your organization, for example, if you have 5 users, you might just want to go through one by one and implement each person, with MFA, and then you do it on a Zoom meeting, for example. And then if, you have 20, for example, you want to go through in groups, groups of 3, groups of 5, and kind of go through, some of the problems that you have with MFA. And that is definitely the recommended way to do that. And for a hot tip, this is a big recommendation here, so you don't get locked out. So you want to start with another person. You do not want, to boom, MFA right to yourself. It doesn't work. You can't log in, and there's no other admins on your Salesforce organization. Like you got to contact customer support, and it would be a big hassle. So that's just a quick hot tip to kind of, make sure you guys start with someone else, for an example, maybe in a meeting, a 30-minute meeting, and do it that way. That would help a lot. All right. So here's kind of the implementation plan. It gets, a little bit in the nitty gritty. Obviously I'll have, some resource links at the bottom, to help guide you. But so when enabling MFA for a select group of users, it's recommended to do it to like a standard or custom profiles. And, that way you would just group a few users and do it, 3 to 5 at a time. And the way you would do that is creating a permission set. And that would make sure that you include the MFA user interface permission. And then you would apply the permission set to the desired users or their profiles. And then right here at the bottom.
Charlie, just to make sure I got it. But for smaller groups, they can do it just one by one, just have people.
Yep.
Yeah, so this would be a situation where you had larger number of users that have certain profiles that you would want to enable MFA for, yeah?
Yeah, absolutely, yeah, because right here it says for a select group of users or to a standard or custom, profile.
Got it. Thank you.
Yep, and let's see, and then right here on the bottom, I have a, this is actually it's actually a pretty cool comprehensive guide, and it's a live link. So when I email out these slides, you can just click that, and it kind of goes through planning, implementation, and then upkeep as well, and going through the process for MFA. And so when implementing MFA and going through the implementation phase, you want to think about, it might be a good time to review some of the profiles, some of the roles, some of the permission sets you've been having. If you've had any problems in the past with users, you want to make sure that they could work as effective as possible. So, now would be a good time to step back and to kind of just review everyone's permission sets, the roles, profiles, and all that. All right. So here's another way that you could enable MFA for all users. It's generally not recommended just because, realistically, if you get, say there's 5 users in an instance, if they're all, great admins and, they all understand MFA already, then, you could technically implement it and they would realistically probably be fine. But it is generally not recommended just because, it'd be good to learn and then just kind of go one by one to, help each other out.
And Charlie, that's because it like many things Salesforce, it feels like it should be easy, but then you hit a roadblock and it needs some care and handling. Once you get on the other side of the care and handling, you're fine, but just expect that you need to leave some time to help your users through the process. Once they do it, it's really simple, it's easy, it's secure, and as Charlie will talk, you can use it for not just things Salesforce. So yeah, there's other use.
Yeah, exactly. And like, if you go one by one, you may see like a problem that keeps persisting, but you'll at least know how to solve it by, the 3rd or 4th person, rather than if you implement it for everyone. So it would definitely help. All right. So this is the actual app. So I took a nice little screenshot on my phone, and on the right-hand side here is my iPhone screen. I was sure to get rid of my battery percentage and all that fun stuff on the top, so that's good. So right where it says open, you're going to click sign up or install on your iPhone or Android. or even iPad. And that's kind of what it looks like. It's got some solid reviews, so it's been around for 4 years already. So, you know, they're not new to this, thankfully. All right. So right here, this is kind of the structure that you know, you log in for the first time. It is not this complicated every time, I promise you. This is just for the first time login. So on the left-hand side here, we have the Salesforce screen. So, you know, you're logging into Salesforce, you're just enabled MFA and you're trying to set it up. And on the right, you have your iPhone screen. You just logged into the app, clicked install, and you know, you got to put this in to connect the two. So when you first sign up, you'll get 2 words. You know, this will change the auto offering. They're all weird though. All of the wording combinations are very weird. So you would just type in auto offering in the 2-word phrase right here, and they would connect the two. Okay. All right. So you go to bed, they're connected, and then you wake up the next morning and you're like, oh my God, your screen's telling you that, you know, you need to check your phone for MFA sign-in. And right here is almost exactly what you'll see. You'll get an opportunity to approve or deny, which is, you know, really cool because, for example, you know, you're sleeping at 1 a.m. and you get a request that you're logging into Salesforce. You know, you could deny that unless you are, you know, a night owl and actually are on at 1 a.m. But you could deny that and you could report. Yep.
So Charlie, just to walk through the process. So so I walk into work, or for now, it's really just walking upstairs until Omicron disappears, dissipates. So I'm going to log in. So I turn on my computer, kick on the computer. I log into my Salesforce instance, and I'm going to find I can't get in yet, and I've got to actually authenticate on. In this case, we'll talk about some others. In this case, this is authentication via my mobile phone, right?
Yep, exactly. And right here is the phone screen. So this is kind of what you'll see. It'll say, you know, kind of where the location is. And the really cool thing about this is you could verify from this location all the time if you check this box right here. You know, for example, I'm mostly always going to be logging into Salesforce in my work, runs much faster. My laptop's crazy slow. So, you know, I'll just always approve it from here. And so that way, the next time you log in, it should automatically approve. All right. And it'll even tell what device you're on, all that stuff. It saves all that data just for, you know, security issues. Okay.
Charlie, I'm sorry. I'm trying to do the just trying to download the Authenticator app.
Yep.
And I got that phrase, but then where do I enter it? I'm able to log into Salesforce right now, no problem. I'm able to log in on my phone, or do I have to shut down my computer and then restart it in order to start getting these prompts?
So what would happen is you would have to, the step right here, we're enabling that permission set.
Uh-huh.
So right here, you have to create a permission set that includes the MFA user interface, and then you'd have to apply it to yourself, for example. And this is the first step.
So
Okay, so I have to go into Salesforce and enable the authentication notice.
Yep.
Okay.
Exactly. Because right now, you know, technically it's not needed in, you know, for yourself. Technically, you're just doing it just as a precaution, which is great. That's great that you do the process. And I could definitely help you afterwards, and you know, I could definitely help during as well. Either or.
Thanks.
No
yeah,
problem.
and by the way, it's a small group. So Camille, I love the fact that you're actually going through the process while we're talking. Anybody else wants to do that, be my guest, and you know, we'll get you to the other side, hopefully by the end of this webinar.
Yeah.
But as Charlie said, don't do it if you're the administrator on yourself. Do it with somebody else first, right?
Especially if there's no other administrators. You know, if say for example, even if there's another admin, or you know, if you want to just make sure that they're, you know, really responsive or have the same exact you know, abilities as you do.
Good point.
Yep, got it.
So, all right. So, what happens if, there's users without a mobile device, which, it's could definitely happen. Obviously technology is changing fast, and, this could absolutely be an issue. So right here is the Amazon's choice Yubico, which is, one of the best on the market. It is called a MFA security key. And right here, you would plug it into your laptop or to your desktop. And basically it provides a TOTP code. And what that basically is it is a randomly generated code that changes every 30 seconds. And this is about $20 to $70, depending on which one you get. This is one with really good reviews. You can get it by tomorrow and possibly even hit the deadline. So that's a really, Amazon Prime. It's a beautiful thing. And then when you're searching up right here, I kind of made MFA security key, TOTP. And that is kind of what I typed in on Amazon or even Google. And they'll give you some options on exactly kind of what your options are for this. I recommend typing it in on, Google, eBay kind of thing, or Amazon or eBay rather than Google, because you might get some promoted people on top that are not, might be a different product. So just be careful. Right. This is the cool part right here. So this morning, I'm going through a whole bunch of Salesforce Authenticator, and I'm going through the app and kind of seeing, I Googled, what apps connect with Salesforce Authenticator, and all these great, big, wonderful apps connect, which is great. Facebook, you won't get a text anymore. As we know, the Salesforce Authenticator app is a little more secure than getting texts, for example. So now I have it connected right to my app. I could even, let me just show you guys real quick on my phone. I'll show you some of my accounts. So right here, we got Facebook, LinkedIn, Salesforce, Twitter, and they're all in one spot, and they're very secure. And if you've been paying attention, that social media is crazy. A lot of accounts have been hacked across any platform. So we want to make sure that we're limiting that, and we all have beautiful pictures with us and our family and friends, and we want to keep all that great stuff to ourselves. And so some other side social media, there's some big apps here, WordPress, Amazon, Slack, which is great, owned by Salesforce, by the way, right? So Microsoft, some really good things that we want to have nice and secure, and don't want to give away our data to any hackers.
And Charlie, these are examples. There's a very long list, I'd presume. Yeah.
So it's funny, right? So Salesforce MFA is getting implemented, and right now it's kind of seen as like, a little progressive, and it seems a little early right now, but it's great that they're doing it, that Salesforce is doing it. But I predict in about a month or two, maybe not even, that if an app doesn't have MFA, that it will be out of the ordinary and lagging, because this is a necessity across the internet, and it's not just a Salesforce thing. It is an internet data privacy, data security thing.
So it's not a question of if you're going to use one, it's a question of which you're going to use.
100%. And if apps don't have the option for MFA, then that is a red flag, and it is going to become a bigger red flag as time goes on, because these apps need to have an external solution to data privacy, because sometimes their own platforms can get breached. So I've seen in 2021 myself. So all right, on one of these apps that are listed here, actually, that's actually really funny. All right. All right. Okay, so right here, what happened February 1st? Obviously there's urgency, and Salesforce wants that to be known, and realistically they do want to start. You need to be thinking about it at the very least, and you should work to get it implemented as soon as possible. And so what happens is, to make sure you're not scared or anything, you're not gonna go berserk. So users won't be locked out when they sign on starting February 1st, 2022. That is, the first thing. And then users won't notice any changes to their login experience on this date. So it'll be just business as usual, besides, having a calendar, gotta have some meetings set up to implement it. But besides that, All right. And you want to keep in mind that you'll be out of compliance with the contractual requirement if you're not using MFA by that deadline. And kind of what that means, being out of compliant means that your instance realistically is much less secure. And you want to work towards just securing that stuff. Like we kind of talked about, we have, data about our constituents that, that allow us to do what we do. And we want to make sure that that is safe within our Salesforce instance. And realistically, forced MFA, so like, when Salesforce actually does turn it on 100%, it could happen as early as August 1st, 2022. And they said at the minimum, they'll give us 6 months, and they did not give a maximum. So it could, it could be 6 months, could be 6 months, 1 day. So, there is not a maximum. So we want to work towards that and just kind of be best practice in this within our instance. We're flying by here. You guys got any questions at all? I promise I will answer. All right, lessons learned. So this is
Charlie,
kind
wait,
of,
1 second.
going through, setting
Charlie.
it up, kind of stuff. Oh, yep.
Sorry, quick question. So that key thing, so if there's somebody that doesn't want to do this on their phone and they want to use the key, that's a one-to-one correspondence, right? So
Yes.
each person would need one on their device.
Yes.
Okay. And does it work well if you opt to do it that way? Have you guys used it? Have you tried it?
I'm in the process. It's on its way from Amazon, but I have, my mom does do this when she works in aerospace, and she uses this every time she logs onto her computer, and she does not have any issues.
Okay.
And but yeah, it's actually really common in kind of more specialized fields with security, big security issues.
Gotcha. Thank you.
There's 6,000 reviews, which means, there's probably 100 times as many orders. So it's a big thing. And Yumico is one of the leaders in the space as well, just as a reference. And Amazon, I'm sure, will show you that once you go type it in.
Great.
And-
Thank you.
And this is on the that model is on the Salesforce approved list.
Yep. Yep.
Cool.
And you just want to make sure you always type in TOTP when you type it in, because that's the method that Salesforce uses. And that's kind of the time generated code that, changes every 30 seconds. That's all that really means. All right. All right, so lessons learned. This is kind of just some stuff. So each admin should set up the Salesforce Authenticator app and have an MFA security key. I think, especially, one to, depending on how many admins you have in your organization. I mean, you want to have probably, if you have 5 admins, definitely more than one should have MFA security key and the Salesforce Authenticator app. And this is just in case, Authenticator app goes down, just kind of preliminary stuff that you want to make sure that, you could use one in case of the other. And so right here, this is really important. This kind of, Camille, this kind of talks to what you spoke about before. You want to establish at least 2 accounts or 2 users, sorry, that have permissions to manage other users and MFA settings. And this is just because, for example, if Camille, if you're the only person in your organization that has these manage users and MFA settings, and you say you're the only admin, if you were to implement it to yourself, then and for some reason it wasn't working, it would, you'd have to contact support, since you're the only one that could possibly add other users or reset your password, for example. So you want to make sure you have at least 2 accounts or 2 users that have the managed permissions to do that and change MFA settings, and even help the admin, go through the process with other users as well.
Got it. I might just make somebody a user and not let them know. And then if something goes wrong, I can work with them.
Yeah, no, absolutely. And just like I said, like even have like a 30-minute Zoom meeting and just make sure they have their phone on them and kind of just go through the process and, feel free to use this. And then there's a big resource page. You guys aren't even ready for it. It is a lot. So that's kind of why I chose, some little smaller links to kind of make sure that point you in the exact direction, because Salesforce's frequently asked questions page on MFA is comprehensive to say the least. So I made sure to kind of hopefully simplify that for you guys when looking into it.
And everybody on the call is an active client in one form or another. So feel free just to reach out to Charlie if you get hung up.
Absolutely. And if you wanted to have a 30-minute Zoom meeting, for example, with me, you, and another user, and we could walk through the process, that sounds good. All right. And so here's kind of our resources page. And this is right up top here. We have the master resource list page. And I'll kind of even, did that work? I just clicked it. Okay, I don't know where that went. Here we are. Just to kind of show you guys real quick. This is everything you need to, almost everything you need to know. They kind of go over the frequently asked questions, the essentials, the requirements, scope. It's really comprehensive. So like I said, I have some direct links that are inside the presentation that will help much more than we'll be going through all of this at one time. But you do want to familiarize yourself and kind of just poke around in here and get familiar with the different options. Yep, so that's the master resource link page. There's a few others in there as well in the presentation. And like I said before, if you want to have a 30-minute session with me, you, and another user, that's absolutely okay. And I could definitely help you guys with that. And feel free, right here, we got our contact us page at imissioninstitute.org. Feel free to just put send me an email if you have it, or Rob, either one, or just submit a contact us form, and we'll gladly help you.
Yeah, Charlie knows a lot more than I do on this. So does Regina. So I'm not the guy for sure.
I was email if they have your email. I was saying, not to do.
I get you, but
I have a question.
yeah.
Yep.
Is there sort of a script or a recipe we have to basically go into? I'm assuming we go into setup and make those admin changes to activate MFA to start this process, to start it for at least one or two accounts of people you might want to guinea pig in this.
Yeah, you're saying like kind of like a walkthrough,
Yeah.
like a proper yeah. So right here is
Like
kind of
a script, Charlie.
Or a walkthrough, anything, we're going here, we're clicking this, we're gonna
Yeah.
enable that,
that would definitely be found kind of on this page. Right here is kind of the scope, and then it goes much more in depth. I know there's a lot of links. I'm looking for it.
Yeah, I think it would be a good thing for us to just because there's a lot of information on this page that people don't need to necessarily know everything on there. So if we can, script where, I think it's a good question.
Thanks.
Can we take some screenshots of what's happening on the inside of Salesforce and click here, click there, as Robin was saying? I think it's a really good idea.
Even if I create like a post or something, just kind of to supplement this too. I think that would be really beneficial for for anyone involved, and I could lay it out much nicer than this, I promise. Just for
Charlie, I'll be
Yep.
Yeah, I'll be happy to share this sheet. So for those others on the phone, I'm with Social Venture Partners, and we're part of, there's a global organization, and our headquarters sent something else about this. And it does give me like step one, do this, click setup gear in the quick find
Right
box, type in, that kind of stuff. So I'll share that with you, Charlie, and you can adapt it and use it as you see fit.
Thank you.
Perfect. I definitely appreciate that.
That sounds great. Thank you.
Perfect.
And that's really the first step we have to do before we can really start working even from the smartphone app. We need to
Yeah.
enable this. Okay.
Yeah, just because, yeah, it would, yeah, you'd have to enable it. And then, so kind of right here is the link that this will also help. And this is kind of just going through the rollout, preparing, implementing, and launching. This is kind of a nice link to have as well.
Okay.
But yeah, that sounds good. I definitely look forward to creating that for you guys and for whoever else needs it. And it's, but it's nice and urgent. So get on it. Absolutely.
Good to know we won't all be our access won't be slammed shut next Tuesday.
Right.
That was my concern. It's like, oh, wait a minute.
Yeah.
Okay.
And Salesforce, they're smart with it. They'll provide enough, they'll provide the urgency, and then they won't say what happens when what happens next Tuesday, for example. So it's good to get like a nice clarifier. Absolutely.
Okay. Perfect. And I know this this probably sounds like a very fundamental question. If as an administrator, I got locked out, or we had several that got locked out, and I would need to contact Salesforce to get reconnected, is there sort of a global phone number or resource that we reach out to for that? I mean, there's so many different areas of Salesforce and so many areas to contact. Is there kind of a handy dandy number that we can reach out to that you're aware of?
Yeah.
Yeah, so, there's, I think the ability to submit a case quickly, Salesforce is usually pretty fast at getting back on that.
Okay.
If you know where to go to do that, great. If not, just touch base with Charlie and he can show you.
Okay, terrific.
Yeah. And then because it's a good question, Robin, just because if you're locked out, obviously you wouldn't be able to submit a case, and you kind of technically have to have someone else do it for you.
Well, that's true too. Right?
So yeah, so that's definitely a really good point. And technically, I usually just the great world of Google. Thank you, Brian, for teaching me the ins and outs of Google, and just the mounds of information. Just similar to how you said, though, there is probably going to be more than one number for Salesforce, to say the least. So finding probably the right one, it might just maybe take a couple calls. But yeah, I'll definitely see, just because that'd be a good resource to have anyway. Just to know the exact phone number just for general support. If you do get locked out and don't have access to create a case.
Right. Yep. Anything you got would be appreciated. Any step savers would be terrific.
Right. We gotta muster out some questions. This is what it's only been about half hour. It wasn't too long of a slide, just because
it was a merciful presentation.
Thank you. I love the vocab. I love it. Let's see. Anything else you want to walk by here?
I'm sure once we all start doing this, that's when the questions will come up.
100%. That's how it always, that's how it always really.
Yep.
And you're recommending, as I saw in that slide, that even if everybody's cool with using their mobile phone for the authentication app, you're recommending that we get at least one of these keys. So in case the app goes down, we still have a way to get in.
So say, for example, you have 3 admins on your organization. I would recommend at least one person to have 1 or 2 people to have this security key on top of the Salesforce authentication app.
Okay.
Just in case, for example, if an admin were to get locked out, you'd have another admin that, even if he got locked out, he'd have 2 different ways to get back in and reset the password for the other admin or troubleshoot on that end.
Okay.
And these keys are one-to-one. You can't share this device. Is that correct?
Correct. Yep.
Okay. And they must come with a setup facility when you get the key. That.
Yeah, absolutely. And like I said, mine's on its way. So when I make that kind of walkthrough, maybe I'll just try to have, I'll learn more about this as well, and I'll kind of elaborate as well.
Excellent, Charlie. You're our master guinea pig here.
Absolutely.
No offense intended.
Gladly.
Okay, that's good to know because I have to justify that to my, what am I spending $45 on? And why? It's like, nah, this is important. Okay.
Yeah, absolutely.
Um, So,
You go, Rob.
I mean, unless there's any other questions, what I, and chime in if there is, but what I observe is that, the power of Salesforce, Salesforce is a big, beautiful, complex, sometimes frustrating creature, right? But it does allow us to do tremendous things for our organizations. What I heard on this conversation is, folks who should be talking to each other, and that I think everybody can help each other. And in thinking about that, COVID put a little bit of a kibosh on this, but we are trying to create the Salesforce users group here in Connecticut for nonprofits. I just really would love people's thoughts on whether that would be useful and how we might go about creating that.
I'm always happy to hear from other people and learn, share my mistakes. You had started, didn't we have a users group, Rob? We had like 2 Zoom meetings, so to speak.
Yeah, we
Is
did.
this,
COVID kind of derailed some stuff. We were hoping to do it.
Yeah.
We're hoping to do it live around the state. We do have, if you're not part of the New Haven nonprofit Salesforce users group, just, go into the trailhead and look for that and apply. And so, we collectively, are an approved group. Yeah.
Yeah, and we have, groups across, technically 3 different platforms, whether it be, we have some Facebook, LinkedIn, and Trailhead. So
Yeah.
we're trying to gauge interest across different channels.
Right. But, I mean, would people want to have a quarterly meeting, at least remotely for a while? We can try to coordinate an agenda. So, we can solicit questions beforehand and then schedule something, at least digital for a while, and then maybe at some point face to face. Is that something that would have interest for people?
definitely. For
Yeah,
me,
absolutely.
Thank you.
yeah.
It's a great idea.
I mean, something like this where it's one topic. Okay, this one's MFA, and then maybe there's one on, I don't know, using it for volunteers or something. Or I think you had touched on one session about Salesforce was rolling out like a credit card processor, that
Right.
kind of stuff. That if it's just one topic like that, I think it's really, and you can really get into the nitty gritty. It's really helpful.
Yeah,
Agreed.
All right.
cool.
Let us give some thought about how we set that up. And so great, we've got one idea of what's coming up with Salesforce with the credit card processor. Anybody have any ideas? Charlie, you are going to be the admin for the group, so just shoot the ideas to Charlie, and he'll get everything organized for us all.
Yeah.
Charlie, what's your email?
Yep, it is charlesc@imissioninstitute.org.
Charles C. Okay.
Nice and easy.
Sure. Uh-huh.
And if anybody has a passion for presenting as well, if you've done something really cool with your instance and you want to do a show and tell and get some feedback about other things that you might want to do, certainly let the group have at it, and see if you can get some good insights and teach others as to what are the cool stuff that can be done.
Absolutely.
Very good. You'll be sending this PowerPoint out to us, Charlie? You mentioned?
Absolutely. Then
Okay.
probably within about 24 to 48 hours.
Terrific. And then to be followed up with the recipe of how we do this on the back end, how we enable this and such.
I'll create a post and then I'll send it out. I'll send it out to everyone that registered for the webinar, just so they all have it. Whether they attended it, I'm sure it's obviously on their mind. So absolutely.
Awesome. Great. Thank you so much.
And
Thank you.
Camille did already share, so I mean, we'll take that and adapt it and get that version out to everybody as well.
Absolutely.
Good. Looking forward to it.
Thank you all. Any other questions?
Thank you very
or-
much, guys. Really appreciate it.
Yeah. Thanks for
Yeah.
doing this today. Great idea.
Anytime.
Thank you.
Talk to you guys soon.
Bye-bye.
All right.